A warm welcome to the listeners of yet another podcast by the Health Tech Club of VIT Bhopal, where we dive deep into the realms of technology and healthcare and also getting to know the exciting journey of our guests. Our guest for today is Mr. Vikrant Attri, who's a software development engineer working at the Niramai Health Analytix. Welcome, Vikrant. Before we begin the bombardment of questions, I'd like to know how you feel about coming on the podcast today.
It's actually very nice. I mean, I think it's second or third time that I'm coming to the students on the VIT Bhopal. Before this, we were doing some sessions with Sriram sir and doing mock interviews before that as well. So it's really good that I can help more people as much as I can for the university because I've been passed out from there. So it's pretty nice. It's a nice feeling. Thank you for reaching out to me and inviting me here.
We're glad to have you. So, Vikrant, could you please talk about your current role and the company that you're working for?
Sure. Currently, I'm working as an SDA, and what comes with that is that I'm working on the front end, the back end, and the DevOps. If people who are not aware of what DevOps is, it's basically the server side of the things, how the CI/CD pipelines work, how the deployments work, and all that stuff. So that's my major primary work at the moment.
Okay, that is very inspiring. What are the most important skills that you believe that one must have in order to flourish in the software development domain? Not just as a full-time job, but even as an intern.
Right. In that case, I feel it would be the willingness to learn and being persistent. And I say willingness to learn. It's obviously when you go to different roles, there are scenarios where you don't know the tech stack or you don't know what you're doing there in the first place. I think it has been a lot of times that I went to a place and I started working there and I had zero idea about what's happening. But in that case, you have to have that willingness to learn what's happening around you. You have to have that drive and take the first step. So that's one thing that is very important. And persistence, when I say this, persistence is because you don't have to give up when you're trying to do something. You have to be persistent and keep trying unless you are successful, right? So keep trying until you're successful. And that those are the two active things that are most important, not the things that you already know, the thing that you're willing to learn. Because obviously, no one knows everything. I see people who have 10 years of experience and they can still find something that they don't know. And if you have the willingness to learn, you'll move forward.
Okay, that was very helpful. And how did you build skills that you possess today? And if you could recommend some good resources for the skill
Sure.
development.
So I think it started from my college itself, right? First point of learning is your colleagues or your friends, wherever you are right now. You must have friends that are already working in internships, or maybe they're doing freelancing.
Yeah.
So that's your first point of learning, or maybe that's your first point of contact to the industrial thing. You can ask these friends, "Hey, what are you doing? What is this?" And that was my first step as well. There was this guy called Mihir. He was doing something and I was very curious about what he's doing, so I started asking him the questions. He referred me to some resources and I started learning from that, and then I just pushed forward. I asked him questions, and finally I moved on to online resources. So I think that's your first point of contact. Your friends, you get inspired by them, or maybe something that's happening around you right now. You may be aware of the hackathons that are coming by software-based solutions. That's one thing, very important thing. I also emphasize on project-based learning as well, just not learning randomly. What we do in the university as well is you pick up programming languages and you're like, okay, Python, I'll start with Python and I'll keep learning Python. But that does not equip you with the the skills that you need to build some software solution. Maybe the web development we are talking about, that's a website. Maybe the Android development that you need. If you are learning without any basis or without any set structure, that is not good. So project based learning is one thing. You select a problem, you make a solution for it, and then while you're building the solution, you will find problems. You look it up. Stack Overflow, it's very common for engineers to actually go and look for solutions, because again, no one knows everything. So that's project based learning is very important besides your friends. And then if when you're doing project based learning, you'll also connect with a lot of people. So that's one. When you connect with a lot of people, they'll give you the insight into things. So these are the two very important things, I believe: project based learning and your friends, and then finally internships and etc.
Okay, so project-based learning is something I'm sure everyone in the audience is very eager to know.
Right.
So how do you think that could help us in internships and the jobs?
Okay, very typical example, right?
Yeah.
Any firm that is out there, let's say startups, because internships you find most of the times they are startups or they are small firms that are not operating on a large scale. Why would they hire you in the first place? Would they
Yeah.
hire you because you do not know anything, or would they hire you because you will be able to contribute something, right? If you go to a typical website such as Internshala and you apply for internships, what they'll do is give you small projects to make, and then after you make those projects and you submit those projects, they basically filter you out and on the basis of that, and then they organize interviews. So in order to make the small projects, you need to have something, you need to know something, right? And you won't learn that something through just Python language or C++ or big console based applications. You learn that when you're doing project based development. A very For example, and it's still very hard to get an internship even though you know something, right? For example, let's say you know HTML, CSS, you can make front end, parts of the front end. It's still a lot of competition out there, right? So project based learning, what it is going to do is it's going to give you that edge. You already know how things are going to be built, so you can actually contribute towards the company even though you don't know everything, right? Even though you don't know the nits and grits, but you know how the structuring goes. And that's very important, and that's why I put so much emphasis on project based learning. So I think I'd like to share this particular example. When I started applying for internships, right, it took me 5 months to actually get some response from internships, right? And the 5 months reason being, at first I didn't know that I need to do projects, or I need to have projects, or I need to know how to do this. It took me 5 months to learn and pick up those projects, those small projects that they gave to me for the selection process. What I started doing was I started building those projects. And then as soon as I was building those projects, I realized this is what's more important than learning the language itself. I need to learn how to develop solutions. And that's what actually gets you selected into these processes, because these companies, startups, need people who can actually build solutions, not just know the programming languages. So that's why I'm putting so much emphasis on project-based learning.
Okay. That was very helpful, and I really wish to dive deeper into that. And I wanted to ask, since we're all from health informatics, and this club is a health informatics club, so if we want to transition to software development, how is that possible? And how does the branch or the degree that you have in your college, how does that make an impact on your career ahead?
Right. So okay. Here's a truth about this. It it doesn't really matter what field of computer science you're in, right? If you're doing cybersecurity, that's fine. If you're doing health informatics, that's completely fine as well. As long as it's computer science, you are able to move towards a field. They will not ask you why you're doing health informatics and why do you want to do web development. It's the domain skill that you have. Can be machine learning, can be artificial intelligence, can be cybersecurity. Of course, there are different barriers into entering for these fields, right? Cybersecurity, it would be a little bit complicated to enter, whereas web development would be fairly easy compared to machine learning or artificial intelligence. So from a computer science field, you can transition into anything. That I can go to machine learning if I wanted to. I can go to data science if I wanted to. I know some people who started from STE and they were doing web development, but then now they're doing machine learning. If I wanted to do machine learning, I would be able to transition as well. There is no restriction whatsoever. It's the entry point. So for a computer science person that's already there, they will not have any problems as an entry point. For someone who's doing mechanical maybe, or electrical engineering, they'll have a little bit of trouble there because they're not in the same field. It's an unfortunate thing, but it's the truth that you have to have a certain degree in order to get to some point in the as a fresher. Of course, there are basically exceptions, because I think in one of the firms that I was working at, there was a guy who was just 10th grade pass and he was doing software development, and he was our senior as well. There are exceptions, but there are complications with those exceptions. So for someone who's in mechanical, for someone who's in civil engineering, or for someone who's in electrical, they'll have a different set of restrictions, different set of barriers that they face. For a computer science person, you'll have no problems whatsoever into transitioning. If you're health informatics, you'll be able to do web development just fine. You'll be able to sit in the exams. No one's going to stop you. Electrical people sit in the exams as well. I think I know mechanical people who are already working in software development roles. So there is no restriction whatsoever. It's just what you know when you sit in the interview.
Okay. And since we spoke about health informatics, so I'd like to know what your perspective is on incorporating technology into healthcare. And does it have any good prospects in the future?
It definitely has good prospects in the future, and I say this because everything is transitioning towards technological side right now. As of right now, artificial intelligence is going into medical sector a lot. Machine learning is going into medical sector. We are also the firm that I'm currently working at. We are detecting cancer using machine learning. We are operating on specific data sets. So obviously there is a lot of scope here, right? And I say scope because I know there are firms that are concentrating on DNA studies using artificial intelligence, machine learning. Human mind has a certain capability, whereas computers they have a wide range of uh, basically operations and actions that they can do. So it gives them more flexibility to do a certain action. So now imagine this: computer science can actually go into any field of medical science, right? Be it operations. Right now, as of right now, you must have heard the robots are doing surgeries,
Yeah.
right? So it's very possible, and all of this is possible because we are doing computer science implementations. The only problem that you'll face in such things, or the current scenario in the corporate sector, is people are a little bit hesitant of accepting these things. For example, the results of this. If I say, okay, this is my algorithm, this is 95% accurate for doing something like this, detecting cancer maybe, then they challenge this, and it's very fine. It's okay for them to challenge this, but the scope is actually very huge. The scope is the software development is just not associated to websites or commerce solutions or financial solutions. I think it's more into the area of medical sciences, and the revolutionary things are actually the medical sciences and the other algorithms that you see. Very typical example is Niramai again. They're doing so much work in the cancer detection. You'll find other firms as well that are building more stuff, right? And they're actually excelling in it. There are a lot of investments coming in. So I think health sector is the future as well, apart from all the other things. But yeah, so it's a good future if you want to go in. It's a good field.
That was really informative. Could you please share your views on the college education system right now in general? And do you think advocate knowledge is being imparted, to prepare the students for actual jobs, not just college studies and the book knowledge?
I think the current system is very flawed, and I don't want to say this, but it's the truth, right? I say this: you will see a lot of people going towards boot camps even after they finish college. Why are they going towards boot camps? Isn't college supposed to equip you with enough skills that they don't have to go to boot camps because they're spending so much money in college? I'm sure I completely accept the fact that certain basic skills are very important to learn. For example, Python language, in a nutshell, you'll have to learn because it gives you the capabilities to problem solve, and that's very important when you are solving a particular solution. Even when you're building solutions, you'll have to deal with arrays, you'll have to deal with algorithms. So it's fine, but are they teaching you the actual skill that you need? Are they teaching you, okay, are they giving you the perception? Are you giving you the enough information that you probably want to go to machine learning or artificial intelligence or web development? Are they letting you have that? Because right now the current structuring of the universities is that you study web development. It's very simple: JavaScript, HTML, PHP, maybe, right? And that's not giving you insight into web development or what are the problems that web development has. It does not give you any insight whatsoever, right? So when you jump into the real world scenario, and I'm just talking about web development here, when you jump into a real world scenario, you'll see there is a huge difference in web development that you're learning in college and that's being applied. And it's the same for machine learning, artificial intelligence. And that's why I say project based learning. If our universities had a similar structure where they had project based learning, the scenarios would be very different. If today, if you Google up CS50, right, and it's a Oxford course, what they do is they are doing Python courses, for example. They will not only concentrate on Python as a language, what they'll concentrate on is developing a solution from that Python language. And that's very important because now, because they're having a project based learning, you have the capability to develop solutions in case you think in the future, right? So right now, I think in the college we have these yearly projects that they ask us to do,
Yeah.
right? But it's just 2 credits. It's just 2 credits out of your 180 credits, and you're doing Python, which is 4 credits and whatever. Shouldn't these credits be more, and shouldn't the time invested in this be more so that you're actually equipped with these skills? And I do understand competitive programming and all of these things are important, and they are important in order for you to actually get to a certain job, or even maybe sometimes excel in your job or get promotions, etc. But again, project based learning, that's why I say project based learning. If you are not being equipped with solutions, if you're not at all aware of what's happening in the industry while you're doing college, that's the harsh reality. Maybe somebody who is taking part in hackathons, right? Let's say in from those 1,000 students that are in your batch right now, maybe 3 4 groups get formed and they take part in these hackathons, and they get a little bit of experience into what kind of industrial solutions can be. What about the other students? What about the guidance to them? Right now, what universities, okay, study this, get a good GPA, sit in the exams, do competitive programming maybe, and you will get to see, and you'll get a job as well. But you'll struggle. You'll clearly struggle unless you have the perfect, clear knowledge. And that's why I put emphasis on internships as well. They are a good gateway for you to understand the industry and what's happening right now. So internships, project-based learning, of course, competitive programming. These three things I feel is very important for you to actually, or you to get a good job, or you to be at a job where you don't hate it, where you like what you're doing. Because being passionate about what you do is very important. If you don't like it, you'll start to hate it maybe, and you'll not be satisfied. And I think for a job, satisfaction, money, and all of these things are very important. So if you're stuck at a position that you don't want to be here, and it's actually the university's job to give you insight in all these things so that you can actually choose. That's my opinion. That's the flaw that the university structure has right now.
I very much agree with that. And like you mentioned, the competitive programming. So I'd like to know. So basically, right now I know my friends. So they're shuffling between competitive programming and app and web development, and they're trying to learn both at the same time. So I just like to know your opinion on that and what we must, as students, do when we're
Sure.
confused.
Right. So you have a 4 year course
Yeah.
usually, right? You have 4 years to learn all these things. I think, in my personal opinion, after a year, let's say you want to chill a little bit, you want to enjoy your college life, you have a year for that. Spend that year into exploring your college life, being communicative, doing things such as these podcasts. Very important to have a good communication skill, I believe, right? Communication skill is very important in this industry for you to excel to higher positions. But it's also important that you know what you're doing. So I think that 1 year you concentrate on your communication skills. You do podcasts, you do theater, whatever you need to do. After that year, you have 3 years. 3 years, start working on your competitive programming slowly. Maybe one question in 2 3 days, one question in a week, doesn't matter. You just give yourself an introduction to the whole thing. From second year, you start doing this, and you also introduce yourself to the concept of project based learning, or maybe some little projects that you're doing, learning more than what college is teaching you. That's what I did. I think I got my internship in the second year. uh, I went to the place, I came back, they offered me to work offline as well, so I worked offline. After that internship was over, I took another internship. After that was over, I took another internship. I felt that makes me financially independent, as well as gives me the skills that I need. And then I was doing competitive programming slowly. I was late to competitive programming. Nobody told me that competitive programming should be done. I think it started coming into the picture during the placements. I think just before few months before the placement, I realized, okay, I have to do competitive programming. And I think I started 4 months, 5 months before the actual placements. It was a setback for me. If I had the knowledge that I need to start competitive programming before, I would have started. And now I suggest everyone that is out there, okay, start your competitive programming from the second year itself. Just start slow, and then slowly get aggressive towards it. Practice more and more. Obviously, an year is enough time for you to understand the concepts of arrays, algorithms, and whatever it is. So after the second year, you enter the third year, you can actually be good at competitive programming, you can be good at project based learning, and it will also give you edge in your current things that you're doing. Competitive, you do competitive programming, you'll excel at your programming subjects that you're doing right now, right? But nobody is telling you this. It comes in late nowadays. I think the awareness is increasing, of course, due to corona. The awareness has increased and the online presence has increased. So now people are getting more attracted towards this whole concept of competitive programming internships, because you have the option of work from home as well. But yeah, that's my suggestion. Start from the second year, go through the competitive ranks through second year itself, start introducing yourself to the projects, and then slowly keep building on it. Unless you are going to like, as soon as you get the placements, you'll have a bunch of knowledge that other people don't probably. And then when you sit in the interviews, it will not be just you answering the basic questions. It will be you discussing about the solutions that you've brought in by doing your research, by doing your projects, by doing your competitive programming. So that's my opinion.
Okay, I just have a follow-up question. So you said that you got a internship in your second year, right?
Yeah.
You worked offline. So I'm curious as to how you managed that with college and your
Com-
class.
it's actually very complicated, right? So I think my first internship, as I said, I went to Gurgaon, came back, and I started doing offline.
Okay,
I was a day scholar at that point of time.
okay,
6 a.m. from 6 p.m. in the night. It was just college. I'll come back home 2 hours, 3 hours. I'll try to rest, eat something.
yeah,
I'll start working, and then I'll keep working till 3 4 a.m. in the night. I'll run on 2 hours of sleep maybe. In between college, in between the classes, whatever time that I had, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or maybe some classes that are free, I'd work on those, work in that time as well. I'll work in the breaks that I had. So there are some compromises that you have to do in order to be successful in life. That's one thing that is there, right? If somebody thinks that they don't have to give out anything and still be successful, sure, you might be lucky if that's happening with you. You might be a genius. I'm not a genius, right? I'm an average person. And for an average person, you have to put in the hard work. If you're
yeah,
not doing that, you will not you'll not be successful in life unless you do the hard work. I'm
yeah,
talking about the average person, not the genius person, not the lucky person. And these two people exist. There are geniuses, there are lucky people who will just get the opportunities and they'll be good at it. But the average person, they'll have to put in the hard work.
yeah. Wow, that was very inspiring. According to this, so you had a lot in your plate, and so do we, but of course, not as much as you. But I'd like to know, so CGPAs are important, and
Yes.
doing your projects, doing your extracurriculars, all that just comes at once. So, what are your tips on time management and dealing with the pressure?
Right. So, okay. The pressure is real, right?
Yeah,
Maybe sometimes being depressed is fine as well. There is no harm in being depressed. If somebody says, oh, don't be depressed, that's not real. You'll find yourself in certain situations where you feel absolutely sad. You do not know what to do.
yeah,
But at that point of time, you also have to remember your goals, right? There is one thing in every person's life that is driving them forward. And that goal is important, I believe. If
yeah,
you have that goal, you have to think about it. You can take breaks. That's completely okay. Take breaks 1 day, 2 day, a week. You need a week. Take a week, right? But then get back at it again. Persistence is the key, as I said. If you give up, you will not go anywhere. That's one harsh truth that I'm telling you right now. If you give up, you will not get anywhere. You have to take breaks, start again. Take breaks, start again. And the time management part, right? You have to compromise on sleeps. You have to compromise on parties if need be. You have to compromise on these social things that you do. Maybe again, that's why I said spend your first year on your communication skills the most, right? Because first year there is not too much pressure on you from the academic side as well, and
yeah,
from life as well in general, because you're not so concerned. First year spend on sharpening your communication skills, doing these extracurricular activities. From second year, transition towards your academic side of things, right? Still do the co-curricular activities when you have the time. Maybe that's your break, right? You work months, or you work for a month, you take out a week where you're doing these co-curricular activities with all your heart, and that's your break, right? Time management, you'll have to compromise with your sleep. There is no escape from that particular situation. Sleep is going to be messed up when you're working in all these multiple things. Pressure, again, you have friends. That's one good thing that you have in college. You have people around you, right? I'm not sure if you're doing college from home right now, but
yeah,
we were in hostels, we had friends.
yeah.
They're all going through that same thing. Talk it out, take breaks, get back at it again. That's the only thing that's gonna make you successful. And it's completely okay to be sad, depressed about something. What's not okay is that you just sit down and then not work towards it. Very typical example is a kid, no? Just a kid when he starts learning to walk and he falls. If he does not get back up, he's not gonna walk again. So that's one thing that's there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very helpful.
Uh, right, one more thing. Yeah, CGPA. I
Yeah,
completely forgot about that. Sorry.
also.
Okay, so CGPA is also important because you have to sit in for the exams.
Yeah.
When I say exams, isn't placement exams. When companies come, most of the companies, what they do is they have a certain criteria. Maybe 8 GPA, 8.5 GPA, 9 GPA. Usually, if JP Morgan is coming in, they'll set a criteria of 9 GPA. So you'll be only able to sit in this exam if you have a GPA of 9. Now, I don't say maintain a GPA of 9. That's completely on you. If you can do that, that's completely fine. There are some trade offs when you're doing competitive programming, when you're doing project based learning, internships. There will be a trade off between your grades and your internships, etc. I had to do that trade off as well. My GPA was 8.2, right? So that was a trade off that I had to do. I was concentrating on competitive programming internships, so I could not concentrate on the academic part completely, right? So you have to make a balance between those trade-offs, what exactly you want, what companies that you want to set in. But minimum GPA, what I suggest is having 8.5 at least. 8.5 is something that you would want to have so that you can sit in good firms, because a lot of good firms won't let you sit below 8.5 or below 8. 8 is the minimum that you need. Below 8, there is, I think, you'll have a lot of struggles below 8. Above 8 is something necessary, and if you want to be comfortable, have 8 above 8.5, 8.5, 8.5 above CGPA.
Okay. And I'd like to know, like, do you have any guidance or roadmap for a college student right now so we could land a good internship or a good technical role?
Right. So let's say you're in the first year, as I said. First year, if you can manage, start on the project based learning, maybe, right? Resources, YouTube is great, right? If you Google up things, if you just Google up project based learning, you'll find GitHub repositories. And those GitHub repositories, what they're targeting towards is basically you look at the language, they'll have a project on it, right? You install that project, you look at that project, you come up with, okay, this is what I want to do, and you start working on that, right? Competitive programming resources, there are a bunch of resources for competitive programming as well. You have Lead Code, you have HackerRank, you have Hacker Earth. All you have to do is just go in there, sign up, and start from the base, right? You don't have to be a pro at it. You don't have to solve hard questions. You have to go with the easy questions. They'll tell you the problems, they'll tell you the algorithms, they'll have an explanation for it. And in turn, what it's going to do is it's going to also make your academic easy, right? For example, you're doing a Python course, they'll have arrays in it. You're doing C++, they'll have arrays in it. You're doing data structures, they'll have data structures in it. And data structures are also being practiced in the competitive programming thing as well, right? So that's one thing. Your competitive programming, you have to work at it. No matter what, you have to work on it. Because when you sit for the placements, competitive programming will be a crucial part. It will be a stage that you have to clear. Maybe not so hard questions, maybe medium level questions, but you have to do it, right? And like I said, internships, you start applying in the second year. It will take a while to get an internship. For example, I told you it took me 5 months to get an internship. For you, it might take longer, it might take less. But what you have to do is apply, right? You don't have the skills, it's fine. Start applying. Go intern, shala, maybe some of your dad's colleagues, somebody you know. Just get into a role, right? Once you get into a role, you'll have some experience that will, okay, this is something that I need, this is something that I'm lacking at. That's one thing that you should do, and that's the common roadmap for any engineering that you're doing. You concentrate a little bit on your academics. You start with the competitive programming a little bit, and then you start doing projects. And I think you can do these projects for the capstone projects that you get in your college as well. Why not, if you're getting an year to do a project or 6 months to do a project, why not choose something that is actually solution based? It's good, right? Some problem that you're solving, could be anything, a platform, just anything, and then put your work in it. It will help you with the credits as well, and it will have a impact on your project based learning as well, right? And then after that, and that's the major roadmap that I give anybody. And then get into internships, have that balance. You don't have to intern for the entirety of your college life. It could be just 6 months. 6 months is enough for you to know actually what you should be good at, right? It will give you insight into, let's say if you started on web development, okay, this is web development, this is how it's going here. Do I want to do this? Or maybe an internship in machine learning, do I want to do this, right? And 6 months is enough to get you. For example, I did 6 months of front end internship. I knew this is what I want to learn in the future.
Yeah.
I had a certain understanding of things. So I think 6 months is enough if you're doing interning for 6 months, right? It will give you that proper knowledge that you need. So that's the roadmap that I suggest.
And regarding internships, so we're very confused. Like we don't know what we want to go in. At this point, we're not sure. So what if we get internship in different roles that we might not pursue ahead? So how does that affect, or is it any beneficial doing that internship that we might not pursue ahead after college?
Sure. Okay. So any internship is beneficial to you. I say
Okay.
this because it gives you some experience, right? It gives you the experience of a professional work environment, how a professional work environment looks, maybe how they're going about the project development,
Yeah.
their app developments, their release cycle, all of these things. An internship is just not an internship in the like an programming what you're doing. It's also the work culture. It's also the products that you're developing. So it's fine if you don't like something, right? You don't have to stick to it. Let's say you got into an internship, you committed 2 months of your time, right? You got into it, you got some information out of it. You did not know you liked web development in the first place, right? But now you know you don't like web development, so you will not go into it. So one thing is clear for your future: web development doesn't know. You don't want to do this, right? Machine learning I want to do, so I'll go to machine learning. But earlier, before you did not do this internship, you did not know that. You were confused. That confusion will go away once you start working on something, right? So it's fine. It's completely okay if it's an internship that is not into your domain, but you get some experience out of it, and that experience is not a waste.
Yeah. And regarding the seniors in college, how important for you is networking and maintaining contacts, not just with seniors but also your colleagues?
Right. This is one thing that people don't know.
Yeah,
At even at a working level, a lot of people don't know how important networking is. I see a lot of my colleagues that are not very serious about it. It's like, okay, that's fine. It's like LinkedIn, it's fine. I'm not very serious with it. In my opinion, I see a lot of on the LinkedIn itself. There are a lot of posts that are being done, referrals,
yeah,
fresher drives, internships, right? And people, if you know people, you'll get to know about these opportunities as well. For example, my current role, uh, this was my first internship. There was a senior who is currently working in this firm that I'm working at, and I told him, look, I'm looking for a change in my role. If you have some opportunity, please do tell me. I'll would love to be part of this new opportunity. He reached out to me as soon as there was a vacancy in this firm. He told me, okay, there is a vacancy here. Would you like to give an interview? I said, sure, yeah, I would like to do an interview. I did my research on the company. I had an interview. Of course, referrals are not going to make your life easy in a way that you'll have to give the interview at the end of the day, right? You cannot escape that. What it will do to you is you'll get the opportunities. The doors will open that you did not know existed before, right? Right now, what you understand is, okay, there is only placements that is there that will get me a job. No, there are hackathons as well. Code Vita, TCS Code Vita is being organized every year. I took part in Code Vita. I got a rank. I got selected for a digital profile. That was my first job. That was my first full-time job, right? And it was due to Code Vita, not the placements. It was due to Code Vita, right? I got a internship from my placement. I could have went to full-time in there as well. I did not choose it because I felt TCS was a better option for me at that point of time. So there's just not one door that you have to knock to get a job to be successful. There are plenty of doors, but you'll have to know about these doors, right?
yeah,
So hackathons are there. The networking that you do, that networking will result in a lot of firms reaching out to you because you've already worked there, right? There are, and for example, very typical example, you get an internship offer from your college after placement. They do internship. If you're not good enough, they don't take you full time. If you're good, they take you full time. Very simple structure. It's the same. It holds the same for other firms as well. It's true for other firms that you're interning by yourself, right? The firm that I was interning for the second time, it was a credit card company where I was doing making a double ledger system. Before the placement started, they told me I can start working there full time and ignore my placements, right? So there are options that come to you when you are actually working, getting to know people,
yeah,
even in future as well. It's just not this. After placements, there is nobody guiding you. There's no one going to tell you that, okay, now if you want to change a role, okay, this is a placement drive, come here, right? No, it's going to be completely you applying on positions. And at that point of time, having people that you already know that can refer you, maybe, or maybe that can tell you about a particular opportunity. You might not know this, but there's also this thing called team-based hiring, right? When I say team-based hiring, it's basically, maybe let's say Amazon UK. There is a team that is looking for a member, right? So they will not post that role on the Amazon website, and you will not have to go through the same process. You will not be doing competitive exams, whatever, right? They have a separate process of things. What they'll do is they'll have a separate process of team-based hiring. The interview that's being conducted will be from their team, right? So you will not know these, not know about these opportunities through the website. You'll know about these opportunities when you are connected to people, and that's why connecting is so important. And also, you will find mentorship, right?
Yeah.
Because you do not know anything, and people out there are very willing to help. It's not just me, or it's just not very set group of people that are willing to help. You can just literally go on LinkedIn, and let's say you read a blog on Medium, you were struggling through something, maybe some ML problem, and somebody wrote a blog for that ML. What you can do is just go on LinkedIn and you look that person up, you connect with them, you can ask questions. I've been asking questions from people from Germany that wrote blogs, and if I have problems in DevOps, I'll just text them and be like, hey, how are you doing, whatever, and then I'll, okay, if you work with this is a problem that I'm facing. And these people serve as a great mentors for a particular field, be it cybersecurity, be it health informatics, right? Even in our college, our alumni, if you reach out to them, there is no harm whatsoever. If you just send them a connection request and you talk to them, they'll talk back to you. They'll tell you what's important, what's not important, or maybe what you need to enter this particular field or particular company. So that's why LinkedIn, I mean, I think LinkedIn is very important. Social networking is very important. I'll put it in the same importance as competitive programming, project-based learning. Obviously, you need this first, project-based learning, competitive programming, but it's equally important to connect to people.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That just brings us to the end of our questions. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Actually, only one thing that I do, and that I've shared before already, right? It's very easy to fail.
Yeah.
Without failure, there is no success, right? If you're failing, that's a good thing, in my opinion, because it makes you humble, right? And then when you fail, you have to get back up again, not give up, and keep working. That's the only key. And I think one more important thing is have a goal, right? Not just walk blindly. If you came into your college, started programming, you want a job, you'll start working for a job, and then it's very complacent that way. Have a goal that I want to achieve this, right? And that what that will give you is a drive to move forward. That's the only tip that I'd share with people. Yeah.
Okay, so those were all the questions and the details that we wanted you to share, and I'm sure that the audience has found it extremely helpful. I feel very enlightened after talking to you today, and I'm very grateful to you that you came, took out time, and joined us for this podcast. And thank you so much for this incredible opportunity to host you. With that, we've come to the end of this podcast session. Again, thank you, Vikrant, so much. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Great to talk to you too. And if you guys have questions in the future, anybody who's watching this podcast, you can connect to me on LinkedIn. I'll answer your questions. I'll help you out if I can.
Okay. Thank you.